You know, when you update your phone and the glass and metal, like the hardware, it basically stays exactly the same. But the moment that new operating system boots up, the entire machine just behaves differently.
Right. It's a completely new experience.
Exactly. Well, today we're taking an objective look at a religious text that applies that exact concept, a total system wipe, to human nature.
Yeah, we're diving into the April 20th devotional entry from Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris. It's titled, A Life-Giving Spirit.
So our mission today is to explore the text's contrast between what it calls the first Adam and the second Adam, and what that claims to mean for your identity.
Yeah, so the text builds its entire argument on this structural divide in humanity. It pulls from the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 15, categorizing people as either natural, meaning terrestrial, or spiritual, meaning celestial.
Okay, let's unpack this. The terrestrial side.
Right, the first Adam from Genesis. That's defined as the baseline human model, essentially just a living soul constructed from the dust of the earth.
Wait, let me pause you on that. The text argues that originating from dust naturally makes humans ruled by selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
But, what is the actual logic there? Why does being made of dirt inherently equal a selfish survival instinct?
Well, it really comes down to biology and scarcity. Dust represents the finite earthly realm.
Right.
So if your fundamental nature is tied to finite resources, your default operating system has to prioritize self-preservation.
Oh, because there's only so much to go around.
Exactly. You are biologically wired to protect yourself, gather resources, and basically survive at the expense of others if you have to. That is that baseline terrestrial state the text describes.
So if the body is the hardware, that survival instinct is, let's call it the Adam 1.0 operating system.
That's like that, yeah, Adam 1.0.
It's glitchy and selfish by design because it has to be. But then the text proposes this total OS wipe through the second Adam, referring to Jesus.
Right, and what's fascinating here is the sharp distinction it draws. It says the second Adam isn't just another living soul. He is a life-giving spirit.
Wait, I actually need a clarification on that.
Sure.
What is the actual difference between a soul and a spirit in this specific context? Because I feel like culturally people just use those interchangeably, right?
Oh, yeah, all the time. But in this framework, they are entirely different mechanisms. A living soul is essentially animated dust. It has life, but it constantly consumes resources to maintain that life.
Like constantly needing to plug in your phone.
Yes. A life-giving spirit, on the other hand, is a generator. It doesn't consume life, it dispenses it outward.
Wow, okay.
So the text argues that when an individual is born again, and in this context, that phrase strictly means undergoing the spiritual operating system swap, they lose that Adam 1.0 programming entirely.
They stop running on the software of the first Adam.
Exactly. They're born after the second Adam. It actually uses a quote from 1 John, as he is, so are we, to assert that believers bear his exact celestial image today, like right now.
So they aren't earthly anymore?
According to the text, no. They function as heavenly men and women currently living on earth.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. If we assume this new celestial software is running right now on earthly hardware, what does that actually output on a random Tuesday afternoon?
Right, how does it look in practice?
Yeah. How does a person with the second Adam OS behave differently when dealing with traffic or just a stressful meeting at work?
Well, the text points to language as the primary output. It cites John 15:19 to explain that having a divine origin fundamentally detaches you from the world's survival logic.
Because you aren't fighting for those finite resources anymore.
Precisely. You don't have to fight. And practically, this manifests in what you say. Just like the Master, a believer's words are described as literal spirit and life.
Wait, literal spirit and life?
Yeah, quoting John 6:63. The core purpose of the believer isn't just to exist and survive, but to actively dispense the Holy Spirit's presence and power into their environment through their speech.
So looking at this objectively, that is just a massive psychological shift.
Exactly.
It's asking a person to totally strip away the identity of a struggling earthling, just trying to survive the daily grind, and replace it with the identity of a divine generator.
It takes you from a consumer mindset to a producer mindset. You aren't desperately pulling life inward to survive. You are pushing life outward to change the world around you.
Which brings us right back to that smartphone upgrade.
Yeah, the new OS.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Think about the conversations you'll have today. If you genuinely believed your everyday words carried literal, divine, life-giving spirit.
Which is a huge if.
Right. But if you did, how drastically would that change the way you speak to a friend or even to yourself during a simple, frustrating argument today?
It changes everything about how you interact.
Definitely something to explore on your own.
We trust you were blessed by this episode. To gain unlimited access to Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, please download the Rhapsody app using the link myapp.rhapsodyofrealities.org. God bless you.